Hello to everyone. I'm so happy to be sending greetings to you from our beautiful country, Estonia. I'm live here in my countryside because, as we know, the world is facing a very difficult time right now. So I'm also in isolation here to avoid all the context. But I'm happy that I was able to join you online here to talk about why digital society is the best thing that could happen to Estonia very long time ago already, and what could our citizens and of course the entire society benefit from having these online services working already for more than 20 years here. So also about myself here, so my name is Annette Numan. I'm working at the e-Estônia Briefing Center, so the organization that I'm representing here as a digital transformation advisor. So I every day advise different government agencies from all across the world, and of course also media and also private sector regarding their transformation processes and how they could also develop the same solution that Estonia has been using already for many years. And speaking about the interest to this story, so it has of course increased each year, and especially also right now during the time of pandemic. I guess this was like a wake-up call for the entire world to realize that these solutions are the only things that can help us to survive and to manage this changing world around us. Just to bring you a couple of numbers here, so our organization in Estonia physically hosted more than 1,000 delegations last year, which was more than 11,000 people. So as I said to you as well here, this year the interest has been even increasing. Of course, not in person people because traveling is pretty much limited here, but of course online. So that's why once again I'm so happy to join you and to share our lessons and just how this entire relationship between the citizens and the government services have been managed here for quite many years already here. But not to waste too much time on just introduction side here, I would like to start with my slides here and um, to make you understand a little bit better how this entire society was created here many years ago. I also have to focus on some of the historical background aspects which explain the story to you a little bit better here. So first of all, if many of you might not know that Estonia is still a pretty young country here in the Nordic side of Europe here. So we regained our independence in 1991, which has been now just 29 and a half years ago. So not long time ago. And of course, we also had a lot of problems that still many other countries in the world are facing today, such as a very high level of corruption. And also the trust between the governments and the citizens was also pretty much missing in Estonia in 1991. Because if a country has been under the control of another state, such as Soviet Union, then of course there is many problems that don't just go away overnight. And the other thing that we were also facing here that has a lot to do with digitalization was that our people in Estonia have been divided all across the state. So that means that we have a lot of islands. We also have so many small towns where people can easily live there. And most of the Estonians, they don't even live in the cities, but there is so many families that still like to live in the middle of nowhere. And if you think about this factor here, so if people live very far from the bigger cities, then there has to be a way that the state could still provide access to public services for each of our citizens. But of course, we can't build these institutions to every single small place where people might live. Or if there is, let's say, an island where there is only 20 inhabitants, so we can't afford to build tax and custom board offices or any kind of other institution to each town or island. So we realized that we are lacking of money in this sector, and we have to make a little bit different decisions, and of course still to provide access to the services for absolutely everyone. And then we were thinking already in 1994 that maybe the best way to go would actually to use technology in order to solve the problems. First of all, corruption, to create much more transparency, then also to gain the trust between the state and the citizens, also by just offering again, I mean, first of all, transparency and a little bit also easier way of communication side there. And in 1994, we already drafted the first document to the parliament saying that from now on, we're going to start making things working online. And of course, as the first step to covering the entire state with a very good internet connection. So, of course, a very important part that we always advise also different other governments from across the world is that if you are building services online and also covering your stately interconnection, this is also fully your responsibility to make sure that your people have a good digital literacy so that they know how to use the services. So, of course, we also provided a very good educational background to people, first of all, to students from a very early age, and then following with the university students, and then, of course, also with elderly people. And then we also offered them the free computer courses so that they could learn how to use the online services. After many years of hard work and investing a lot of time and effort this process, we have achieved to the point today where 99% of our public services are fully accessible online. So the only things that I still have to leave home for is just getting married and divorced, and that's about it. During the time of the crisis, we also changed the very last thing that was also, I mean, the third thing that was also working on paper before. And then this was buying your property, so buying your apartment and buying your house. And we changed that because we realized that if the notary offices are closed, this is going to impact too many people, and of course also the economic system. So we changed this now, and me here in my countryside, I can also buy myself a new countryside or an apartment without even having to leave home. And of course, if you think about what are these 99% of the survey say, it starts from everything. You can do all your e-health things online, e-justice sector, your taxation, and so on and so on. So the list is very, very long, all the things that you can imagine. But one of the reasons why we were so successful building this state here was because we also introduced the electronic ID card since the year of 2002 already. So today, 98% of our entire population already have this card, and this is a mandatory document that every single person who lives here needs to have. And we have our identity code on a number there that helps different government agencies and, of course, also private businesses to identify us without even using our names for that, because that's way more secure. And my physical electronic ID card is the key for all of the services, of course, also the private sector services. So I use this card for my driving license. This is the card for if I want to lend a book from the library. This is also the customer loyalty card in different shops. All my prescriptions, my medicals are based on this card as well. And of course, I travel with a card inside of the European Union. So this is also my document to identify myself at the border. So this is one of the keys of our success story here. But if you are thinking right over there that, okay, if there's a country in Nordic side that has all of its citizen information working fully online, accessible online, what if they would have a huge catastrophe happening? And what could happen when your servers would be burned down, or there would be something seriously drastic happening? I'm happy to tell you that we are also investing a lot of money and a lot of time into the sector of making everything working very securely. So first of all, we are the first country who also uses blockchain on a national level in order to make sure that our data has been stored very securely. And secondly, we also have our backup plan, Data Embassy, which I will be talking about a little bit later here. But if we have to introduce this idea of transforming your services working online to politicians, the user question that they have to us is that, hey guys, how much money or how much time you can actually save by having these solutions? So we have done some of the calculations. I mean, it's been very difficult to make any calculations because we don't have anything to compare to. But just by signing our documents online, which we get a chance to do when we use our electronic ID cards or the mobile ID or the smart ID solution, just by providing digital signatures, every single person here that lives in Estonia saves 5 days per year. Would any one of you mind having 5 extra days of vacation because you don't have to be in any kind of government institution and wait for 5 hours with your queue number? Well, I think this is great, right? And regarding the state point of view, so each year our state saves also 2% of our GDP, because we provide our citizens a possibility to also sign documents fully online. But if you're thinking there how far this entire process could go or how crazy you could go, we have some great examples too, because Estonians have been also voting online for many, many years already. So since the past 15 years, every time we have had elections, either local elections, parliament elections, or even European parliament elections, we have been voting fully online. And the last time already almost half of our population used this opportunity. And especially again, when we're thinking about what's happening in the world these days, then that's a great chance to avoid all the contacts with other people, that you don't have to go to the polling stations, but you can easily just vote also by using the online methods for that. But to move over here, and if I would ask all of you there who are listening today to remember one slide or just one fact about Estonia or how this entire success story was built, then I would choose 100% this slide here, because this explains the best how this entire society has been built. First of all, we have these 3 pillars that 100% always need to be there. And you can't take any of these pillars away, because otherwise the state would collapse. So first of all, confidentiality, availability, and then last but not least here is integrity side. So first of all, each of our citizens needs to have a way to identify themselves if they use any kind of government services, but doing this in a most secure way. So providing information about their PIN number 1 and PIN number 2, which are very secure and would never be on the same security levels with just usernames and passwords, which are very hackable. So this is a very safe way to provide our citizens a very safe way to access services. If they have already accessed the services, there are also many, many ways that different government agencies have to exchange information between each other. And if the citizens want to get access to some of the services, they don't have to always go to different institutions, but they can also can do a lot of things in one place. So that's why these information exchanges have to be also managed and provided very, very securely and in an efficient way. And that's why Estonia started using also the Exert system, which is our decentralized data exchange layer. So all of our information is fully decentralized and distributed by 100,000, I mean, not 100,000, sorry, 1,000 different institutions who store a very different amount of our information and very different information on a once-only policy, which means that our citizens only have to submit their information one single time to like one specific institution who deals with the information, and that again provides much more efficiency of the system. And of course, by this data exchange layer, then different government agencies and private businesses have the most up-to-date information as well. So that makes it more secure. And by exchanging information over the Exert system, we also provide our citizens a data exchange. In this data exchange side, also data tracker possibility, so that our people can also see what kind of information which government agency or private business have been seeing, have been exchanging, and you see exactly what time of the day which government agency or private business, and also what part of the information was used or has been seen by specific institutions. So that provides, again, as I brought up before, a lot of transparency and builds trust. And then the last one here, integrity side. So it requires especially the security aspects here. As I brought it up before, we are using KSI blockchain in order to manage our data. And then we also have realized that just having armed forces in our state wouldn't be enough, but we also said that we need to have cyber forces, because most of the wars these days are happening online, not on crowns anymore. So that's why we also have Cyber Command and Cyber Defense League. So people that are fully exercised in order to protect our state, when there would be a case that we need to protect our state. And one thing that I also promised to talk about was the data embassy side, so our backup plan. So our data that has been backed up to our servers in Luxembourg, where our data embassy and the servers are based. So if there would be any kind of need to get access to our services, or there will be something lost here, then we could easily also get access to our information from there and get all this information that was stored here before get back as well when there will be catastrophe happening, as I pointed out before. And to continue on the cybersecurity before we go also to some of the services side and talk about what do we have for the future. So I am telling you once again that this is one of our biggest priorities in our state today, to provide the strongest like the cyberspace and the safest cyberspace. And we can fully say that Estonia today has one of the strongest competence in this sector. And if you have heard from the news, then in 2007, Estonia was facing the very first and so far also the largest cyber attack against our nation state. There is a lot of fake news about this on media, so don't believe anything that you see there. Actually, we were very lucky because we only lost some information from our from one of our private banks, and then also a couple of media platforms were taken down, but that was it. Because again, we were already using our decentralized platform that managed to divide also the risk, and we happened to come from this crisis very, very successfully and learned a couple of lessons from this as well. But a year after all of this happened, so also NATO decided to bring its cybersecurity headquarters, so CCD-COE center, to physically Estonia. So the headquarters is based here, and also the European United Agency is fully based in Estonia. So we can fully work together and exercise people all across the world who work for NATO or the European Union by the cyberspace aspects here. Cyber Defense League and Cyber Command I already mentioned here, and also since the 1st of January 2020, Estonia is the non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. We're also one of our goals is to create a framework that all the UN countries would respect, because we think that it's time to start taking cyber crimes as serious as any other crime in a word, because cyber crimes can even have a bigger impact than anything else in a word. So to continue here, as I also promised to talk about some of the aspects about our future plans and some of the services. So as I said, we already have our different services working fully online, but of course, we're not going to stop here, as there will be only 2 other things to put online, just marriage and divorce. But we are right now making our services, so these 99% of the things, moving them, working also proactively. And just to give you a couple of examples regarding this, so for example, our family benefits is already the first solution that is working on proactive level. And just to explain this in a simple word, so when a baby has been born here in our states, then the first things that will happen is that the doctor would register a baby's birth, and then secondly, this birth certification would go online, baby will get personal code, and as soon as this birth certification has been submitted online and the parents had officially been marked as parents, they will now automatically, so proactively, get an email from the state that would say, congratulations on your newborn baby. And right now, you are allowed to get access to the family benefits. So please do confirm if this is your right bank account, and we will transfer you the money. And of course, it can also happen in the middle of the night. And our people can also already register their child name online. And also by the end of this year, we're going to have another service that is going to be that we can also choose exactly which school we want our children to go to. And again, this will be one of the proactive services so that we can choose this from the list, and then already 6-7 years ahead you can register your child a place at different high schools as well. And of course also the other proactive service that we're going to provide to people is to do also the pensions, so the retirement money. So when a person turns 65, then they can also proactively get the message or email from the state half a year before, and the state would let them know that you are soon allowed to get access to the pension, and then you can decide there if you want to postpone that, you want to continue working, or you want to go on an early retirement. And then one very important topic that I also promised to talk about here today is AI, because AI is going to be something very essential in our in the future and already today, because just in this year in 2020 we are replacing 50 public services by AI solutions. By today, or by the end of October, we already had around 42 different services replaced by AI. So AI is going to be used both in e-justice sector, where it's going to deal with the most simple cases, also in e-health sector. It is going to also be used in our defense and security sector. And of course also we are even building such kind of thing as the chatbot. So when we go to our state platform to get access to the services, then the AI can help you to lead the different services, and even let you know if there is anything that you would need to know proactively. So and again, it's not taking people's jobs just away, but it helps us to proactively remember different things and make this communication between the citizens and the state much more fast, much more efficient, and of course much more enjoyable, so that each of our citizens who wants to get access to the government services will actually enjoy the process of dealing with these things. So AI definitely is going to be the future for us here, and I guess also not just here, but also in the European Union, and hopefully in the entire world also quite soon here. And then we will also continue cross-border digital governance, so that we have some great projects with other countries. We're trying to start and continuing, as we already do that with some countries, our information on a cross-border level, so that when some of our citizens would move to another country, then also their information would come with them as well. And then the last one here on the future slide here is our personalized medicines part. So we are also fully working on making our medicine system, e-health sector, much more personalized. And that's why we have been collecting 20% of our population's gene test, so to start also analyzing this information there. Here is just a great overview for you, what kind of proactive government services are going to be replaced, and you can see that as I just brought it out, childbirth and the retirement side, but there is also a couple of other things that are going to be used. And the very last slide that I also have for you here is the lessons learned slide, as we have had already these services working for more than 20 plus years. So we have, of course, also made a lot of mistakes, and we are more than happy to share our lessons so that you could avoid all these mistakes that we have done here in past. So the very first thing is that if you want to have this change in your society or in any other country, then we fully suggest to find also a very good leaders who would be leading this entire process and who would have a very digital mindset. Because the mindset part is one of the most essential ones here, because we always say that around 80% of our success story is based on the visions and our just the strategies, and only 20% of this is based on technology. The second thing which we have learned here is that when you build services for the citizens, then you build the services for so many people and so many different age groups. So we ask everyone to keep in mind one principle, which is called KISS. So keep it short and simple, which means that these things have to be designed understandable for each of the person who lives in your state and who is going to use the services. And once again, transparency is the thing that works and works perfectly. because this is how you make your citizens to use the services, if they know the background, if they know how these things work, and so they will be more willing to use this often. And then, of course, shared platforms are much quicker. I mean, again, sharing information between different agencies is making things working much more efficiency. And once again, service design is a very important aspect as well here. So we also suggest you do define good teams who would behind the service design side here. And the very last note that I have for you here is that all of this have been possible only because we have been smart enough to do a very close cooperation on the BPP model, so public-private partnership model. So since the very beginning of the days, we have been always asking our different ICT company leaders to be sitting on the exact same table with us and to work close with us, and of course also always including academia to the process. And all of these solutions that we're using today are fully designed and built by our ICT companies, so we didn't do anything alone. And I believe that any country could do this magic and make this magic happening and have the services if you're just willing to work together with the private sector, because I honestly have not seen any country in the world who would be able to do that alone in public sector. And believe me, I have met so many governments and so many country leaders from different countries. And the only way to the success story is to do it together with the private sector. And 100%, I know I told you this already, but you always include also academia and people who are behind of innovation together with you, and then the real sparkle could come from there. But I was with just 25 minutes, just covering what we have been up to here, how this story started, and of course also what are the future plans. And I do hope that you understand a little bit better now what's behind of this success story in Estonia. And I do hope that you're going to enjoy the rest of the conference. And if you have any other questions to us, then you can just get in touch with us on any of our social media platforms, or also by the email that is here on the last slide. And we will be happy to also guide you through the process of transformation. So I wish you a very pleasant day. Thank you.